Welcome back. I'm Jacob, one of the co-founders of Check, and today I'm going to walk you through an overview of clients. Starting off in the Clients tab here, you'll notice my list of clients, giving us a great overview of my active clients and their outstanding balances. Tapping on a client allows us to view that client's details, but we're going to get to that in a moment, because first I want to walk you through adding a client. Now, anytime you're adding something in Check, it starts by tapping that blue plus button at the bottom. We'll select Client, and then at the top, we'll toggle over to the Import tab to import a customer from my phone's contact list. And just like that, boom, we've got a client imported. Now, if we tap on a client, we can see it's imported their name and their phone number right here. But you don't need a client in your contacts to add them quickly. Imagine if you're out on a job and a neighbor approaches you and asks for a quote. Maybe you don't have time to put together a quote for them right then, but you want to save their information for later. You can, once again, tap on that plus button, select client, and then drop in their name and their contact info. It only takes a couple seconds, and you never have to worry about losing track of them. Now, once a client's added, we can tap on their name to view their details. And the first thing you might notice is that client balance up at the top. Anytime you add an invoice or a payment, that number will change to tell you how much they owe you. A negative number, like this one, means they owe you money, and a positive number means you owe them services. Beneath the balance, you'll notice a series of tabs that hold additional information about the client, and we can swipe between those tabs or drag the tab bar to view the rest of them. We'll go through each one. Starting in client details, you'll see the name, email, phone number, all pretty self-explanatory, but I want to point out the invoice frequency and type right beneath the phone number there. The invoice frequency controls how often this client gets invoiced, and right now you'll notice it's set to per job, which means Check is going to send them an invoice immediately after a job is marked as complete. You'll also notice for this client, it's automatically set to SMS under the invoice type because we imported the contact with the phone number. But if we wanted to, we can add an email address and switch it to send via email. Up to you. Speaking of invoices, if we swipe over to the Activity tab, we can find invoice and payment history for this client. Tapping on an invoice like this reveals the details of it and allows you to either view the PDF version of the invoice, resend it, or delete it. And of course, tapping on a payment is similar. You can view the details or you can delete it. And if it's a web payment made through Check's online payment links, you can choose to refund that payment as well. And from the tray down there at the bottom of the Activity tab, you can also add a new invoice or payment, or you can tap that Send Invoice button to quickly resend any outstanding invoices. Now, remember when we imported our client from our contacts? If we had an address in my contact, it would have automatically imported it as a property. But if you already have a property, you can tap into it, view, and edit the details. Or, back out in the Properties tab, you can easily add a property by tapping that blue plus button at the bottom, or the blue plus button that we started with. You can quickly add a name, an address, and just like that, a new property is added. Moving on to the Recurring Jobs tab. If a client has a recurring job, you'll find it here. And similar to properties, you can easily tap into it to view the details or use the button at the bottom to add a new one. Quotes like properties and recurring jobs are just as simple. You find a list of previous quotes here, tap on one to view or edit the details, or add one using the button at the bottom. And then the last tab is Notes, where you can add things like gate codes, birthdays, special instructions, basically anything that you want to save about a client to make sure that you remember them in the future. Now let's say that a client no longer needs your services. First of all, that's a bummer. But you don't want to clutter up your clients list with somebody that you're not serving anymore. And you also don't want to delete the valuable information like invoice and payment history. We can take care of that with the Archive button. Archiving a client automatically pauses all recurring jobs for that client and removes them from your schedule and hides the client from your clients list in the Archive tab. And unarchiving them is just as easy. I hope that that's been a helpful overview of the Clients tab, and we'll see you in the next one.